What's going on, guys? So I just finally filmed the finale for the new shop, and I figured we ought to do a rig walkthrough. um, I honestly, it's been a while since I've had everything in one place, so yeah, we're gonna do that tonight, and let's get started. So we're gonna talk about everything unbuilt and built. Starting out here, got my RC4 drive, little 1/18 scale, and yeah, I really like that truck, especially with the mods we've done. I just have it floating around because it doesn't have a permanent home yet. Unbuilt, I've seen some of these videos before. My very first hobby grade RC was this Alfa Romeo, and as this is a 1993 kit, brand new in the box. Got the MST TRM, I don't even remember what it's called, little on-road chassis, and I've got this CTX VTR, all these letters, it's just ridiculous. I bought this because it was a Suzuki Sidekick body, and it's a really cool looking kit, but I've had it for 2 years and I haven't put it together yet. So that's on the agenda because it looks like a cool thing, and I want to do a retro paint job kind of on that. But it's Lexan, so yeah, not on my priority list super high. My Tamiya XV01, I wrecked it racing with Jeremy. Got some parts to fix it. You can see some nice aluminum in there, and need some more parts. So that didn't get fixed yet. I know the crawler guys don't like the Tamiya stuff. Tamiya guys aren't interested in the crawler stuff. We'll get there. We're going to cover it all tonight. This is the CC02. I got this when they first came out. It's been almost 2 years, and I have bearings for it, and I've never put it together. I just haven't had a chance, and then I moved and did all this mess, so haven't done that. Got another Volkswagen Beetle kit. This is the MO6. I bought that chassis to use underneath this body because it has a adjustable wheelbase and it's narrower because it's mini, and this body's pretty true to scale, 1/10, so a standard touring car doesn't quite work. So I think that's going to be the Joe Dirt Superbird build. Down here I've got the MO7 concept chassis, which late night eBay impulse, and I got this body, which is very hard to find right now, CRX, because deep down I'm a Honda fan. Another late night eBay purchase. This is the MO1. This is vintage, new in the box, never built. I love K cars. I've never been in a K car. I don't know if I could actually drive one, but I think it's cool. I like Honda stuff. Another TAO2. I bought this because, one, I never had this Opel body. I know it's a re-release. It's not worth a whole lot. But I've got tons of option parts for TAO2. So I wanted to build a fully optioned Bad Mama Jamma out of that. And got the TAO5 IFSR chassis kit. That is built and beautiful. I mainly got that just to look at the independent front suspension with the cantilever system, because I've used cantilever stuff on the rat rods, and I was trying to engineer something like that where it's at angle and laid down and cool. And I got that whole car with, it has probably $500 worth of spare parts in there with it. And I got that whole thing for like $200. Vintage Tamiya bodies, yet to be determined where they end up. And those boxes are cars that are in the studio. So let's go in there and take a look. All right, so studio current projects. We've got this rat rod, which I just started building because this in the last day. Because yeah, that wasn't in existence until I got this new shop set up. Then we have this other rat rod project, which I think we're ready to move forward with. I've got a bunch of stuff for it, and I got distracted with this. So we're gonna build 2 rat rods at once. The C10 build, I still need to do a bed cover and a battery mount. That's really all it needs. A bench seat. I have the bench seat for it there, 3D printed, and yeah, that's kind of the current situation. Let's go through the rat rods. Up first is old number 1. Old number 1, there's no hope for. The body is pretty far gone. It's very intricate the way it mounts. It was my first experience with rat rodding, but I love the chassis, the engineering. Talking about cantilever suspension, this thing is wild. Yeah, full builds on the channel if you hadn't seen it. Changed the tires and wheels around a few times, but it's just difficult because it is closer to it's 1/8 body. So then the chassis and stuff is just, it's kind of a showpiece in itself. So I don't really take the body anywhere. It's very fragile. This is like a 1965 model kit that windshield frame is cast aluminum. It's very, very fragile. It'll bend and warp and crack if you move it enough. So we don't take that places, and I've kind of stolen the hood and the grill for the new rat rod project. The old number 2 sits on his throne up here as probably the greatest one I've ever built. Nothing needs to be fixed on that. It runs and drives. It is beautiful and excellent and perfect in every way, other than a few scratches from all of its travels going to events and letting people see it in person in my late night Winn-Dixie parking lot drag racing at USTE, where I never win, but it looked the coolest. Still the greatest. It's kind of the face of the channel. That's when people really found me and started following. That's kind of what started it all. Even after number 1, it was fun engineering. A lot of people got into that, but number 2 was the first scratch built chassis I'd ever done, and yeah, that really got people going on the channel. Not many people saw the videos on this. I don't know why. I lost a lot of viewers because of the change in content after I quit my job, and then I didn't have a studio for a while. Number 3 got a revamp. It's got some upgrade electronics. We've got these awesome tires and wheels, which were excruciatingly expensive. Has functional servo suspension and just all around awesome rat rod. I think the farm truck was next. It's been on its second iteration now. I painted it with house paint over rust paint, and I just love it. It's an awesome driver. The tires that I put on it now are so wide that when you turn, they hit the headlights and it stops. So it acts like a front brake, so you can just kick donuts all day long. 3D printed engine, 3D printed everything, lots of awesome things on it. Really cool suspension setup, and it has a little bit more ground clearance than some of them, so it's a little more drivable. The headlights on that were from industrial air nozzle that we used to use at work. They look like little jet engines. And yeah, managed to collect a couple of those that were about the same patina. A viewer actually sent me this polished hand-spun aluminum fuel tank. Thought that was a really awesome touch. Upgrade over the 3D printed one that I had rattle canned chrome. Not in the best location, but the tank track rat rod, it's on its second iteration. It used to have tires on the back and would do awesome burnouts, but figured why not do tracks. Got these cool vintage looking wheels, those RC4 Drive cruiser wheels. I have another pair of those floating around for something later. So much custom stuff on this thing, it's insane. The headlights are from a vintage 1/8 scale model. There were fog lights for like a Mercedes. The engine, I actually worked with RC 4-wheel drive to develop those headers. They're 3D printed and available in RC 4-wheel drive's Shapeways store, so you can still have them printed. The intake and tunnel ram and stuff came from, what was his? I can't remember his page name. He changed his name, but they're on Shapeways as well, and it's 3D printed. I think it's Old Iron RC now. Can't remember. He built similar stuff to like I do, but he did all metal. He was making rat rod bodies out of toasters and computer cases and all kinds of crazy stuff. But really cool build, and it runs and drives, and it's actually a pretty decent performer. Next up, I don't remember the order exactly, the Volksrod. So it's a Tamiya Sand Scorcher SRB chassis, lengthened, but I wanted to do the Volkswagen body because it lends itself to this chassis. It's kind of designed like a Volkswagen. It has swing arm rear, torsion arm bar thing front, just like a real Volkswagen. We did some work on that a while back and got it fixed up, fixed the sunroof where it's kind of cocked up, and this looks cool. Kind of apocalypse. Somebody sent me these 3D printed spoke wheels, and they were amazing. I've already broken one driving this thing, and I have one spare left. Front wheels were actually designed by my buddy Awesome Designs, and 3D printed as well on some vintage model car tires. We swapped the rear tires to the sand blasters from the old SRB chassis, and we've got a Night Customs Volkswagen engine in the back. It's rusted all up. One of the easiest rat rods I've ever built. Next up's the Rat King hauler. This thing was a massive undertaking. Started out with a build from RC Hobbies Orlando, doing a globe liner using Tamiya drivetrain and stuff, but I just couldn't get it looking right. And then I got this body, And my buddy Dustin at 110 Rod Shop printed me a sleeper. And then, yeah, buddy Wes at Wes Made Builds, he printed these, or not printed, he vacuum formed these fenders out of styrene. And yeah, lo and behold, we made a rat rod hauler. I made the chassis and the trailer all from scratch, triple axle, all kinds of fabrication. I got that full build on the channel too. And this thing runs and drives great, pulls any weight. I've ridden it. I've pulled hundreds of pounds with it. I pulled a car in neutral on level ground with it without the trailer. Or with the trailer, I think I had 2 car batteries sitting on it to keep the traction on the tires, but it's got full everything. It's got some awesome looking scale drive lines, and it's got a huge gear reduction, like a 65 turn motor. The top speed's like 2 miles an hour, but it'll pull a house down. Wrapping up the rat rod things, we've got my Target Christmas camper. If you remember, a few years ago, Target had these campers, and they had welded everything, and they were pretty close to scale. So everybody was doing conversions. And if Bob would get out of the way here, you can see we used some more awesome vacuum formed fenders from Westmade and gave it a little flair. And what's hilarious about this is I used a aluminum semi trailer axle. It has the most ridiculous like 5-link suspension with touring car shocks, and it works great, but you can't see any of it. It's all just hidden in rust. But I love that with the fenders. Everybody did these. They were doing them with crawlers and stuff, but I wanted it low and rat rodded. Awesome color combo. Got my flamingo. Bob just put the Christmas wreath on because tomorrow's December 1st, actually. Propane tank and the actual cinder block came from a guy at USTE. I can't remember. I'm so bad with names. But he had all that scale stuff in the back of his truck, and he won a bunch of trophies, and he come over and gave me a couple of the pieces. I was like, dude, that's awesome. So I definitely put them to good use. I use that cinder block around the shop like it's a real block. We hold stuff up with it all the time, don't we, Bob? And the last of the rat rod piece, the vintage Arkansas Traveler aluminum boat. It is kind of permanently affixed to this trailer because, yeah, has an actual vintage Japanese electric motor, handmade seats, just awesome. The trailer is all welded steel, and the tires are airplane. You can kind of see it in there, and the nacelles, whatever you want to call them, off of the cover of the tire are actually airplane pieces as well. They're fiberglass, but just a cool vintage piece. I really intended number 2 to pull that, but there's absolutely no way to put a hitch on old number 2, so we pulled around with the Volkswagen. So now we're just going to go in order of the way they are. We got our Sin F250. Not a lot done to that truck yet. We've got some 110 Rod Shop painted things and lights and mirrors and awesome stuff with that. Then we got another Sin Racing F450. This has their lift kit and their bumper kit. And yeah, we're still waiting on some stuff for that. We're going to do some more with it. Down here, we have the most beautiful CC01 Tamiya Pajero ever made in existence. I did not paint it because it is way too nice. It's another eBay score, and I love it. I drove it once just to make sure it all worked, but it is a gorgeous box art car. Then I have TAO2. This is my drift nugget. This thing is ridiculous. It has every piece of vintage aluminum, all wild colors, all kinds of crazy stuff. It's got a brushless system, 300ZX. I broke the headlight the first time I drove it, so I duct taped a flashlight in its place. Put some mirrors on it recently. It's got a big goofy wing. It had a GoPro mount, but it broke during the move. But a little GoPro, scale GoPro. But it's kind of my scale drift nugget. And I kind of went through the chassis and fixed that up, and it was in pretty good shape to start with. My TT02R, haven't even driven it yet. It was brand new, but we built it on the channel not that long ago. Put one of these killer bodies on it. This one you haven't seen yet. This will be coming to me a time. This is a beautiful TAO2T with the F-150 body, done complete box art. This one is a TAO1, if I remember right. It's got the full FRP chassis. It's got a wild brushless system. Pretty good driver quality Repsol Celica body. Then we've got this one was pretty recent. TAO2 at the Castrol livery on the Celica body. See, there are differences other than the stickers. The roof scoop is different between the two models. This one is almost perfect. It's got a couple cracks from some shipping damage, but one of my nicest in the collection. Then we've got a TA01. This was a carpet racer, so it shows absolutely no wear underneath. Bone stock, bushings with the Audi body. It's one of the first vintage Tamiyas I got when I started collecting again. Moving down the shelf, we got my vintage Bowlink. This is one of the Digger, not the Digger, this is one of the Legend cars. This is an original Bowlink Legends. I got it with the body unpainted, never driven, and you can see the wheels are yellowed. It actually says Bowlink on the tire. And I painted it up, put a big 3 on it, like I did for Dale. And it's got a big RC every day across the back. I was actually proud of this because this was the first time I've tried Lexan as an adult, and I got the grill looking pretty good. It's not perfect, but it's pretty good. Spare rat rod body. I had a space on the shelf. We've got the M06 Beetle. This one got a huge following because I painted it on the outside of the Lexan body. But it's got drift tires. It's got these extremely rare HPI Cup Racer Porsche Fuchs wheels. Don't censor me. Fuchs wheels. They're spelled different. And I could only find the drift tires for them. So it's completely useless to drive. It's rear-wheel drive. I pulled the camper and the boat with this. But absolutely awesome looking rig. It's got some crazy camber in the back, and the wheels are offset different. So that's what you look for when you get a Volkswagen. Got these things packed in a little tight, but this is absolutely my favorite on-road car. And it doesn't look like much of nothing. This is the 40th anniversary TA02. We got a full FRP chassis. It's got a sport-tuned or torque-tuned sport-tuned motor in this one. Just basic stuff. And it's set up super well. We got some amazing tires on there. There's some MST on-road tires. And it's got a few little hop-ups here and there other than the FRP chassis. It's got some adjustable uppers and some aftermarket shocks. That is actually a vintage Nissan Primera. I think it was a Castrol body. But I bought it like this for like $30 on eBay. It's got a couple little dents and dings, just like I like them. But it's a vintage body, and it's something that I could have got when I was a kid in the 90s. It's got the wing on it and everything. I love that I drive it. It's awesome. I took that to Kentucky and drove around Jeremy's driveway with it. And it's my favorite TA02 of my collection, I think. Next one, TA03F. It's got the front motor TA03, box art, Martini. Probably won't drive it. It's a very good looking car. It's got a little bit of wear and tear on it. A nice driver quality, as I call them. Needs some sticker repair, but another TA03F. This one is absolutely gorgeous, never driven. It is absolutely perfect in every way, and it was very hard to take this one out of the box because it still has the plastic coating that you lay over the body to keep dust off of it because it is black. All these cars have their own videos on the channel, or at least a couple of them. Some of them are combined, but that car is absolutely 100% perfect and mint. Never been driven. Beautifully painted, beautifully stickered. The absolute nicest vintage car I have in my collection. It's getting crowded over here. So this body is another awesome finished body. This is the only damage on it in this one corner. This is the FF01. So it's a TA02 front-wheel drive platform. This body, I love it. I've never had one, never seen much of those when I was a kid, but I found that body set in the box, painted with just that one scratch on it for a heck of a deal. And I love that car. I don't know why. It's just so bright and colorful. It reminds me of that racing series back in the 90s. And I've got the correct wheels on it, which I'm not in love with. Those are the ones that it's supposed to have came with. I think some black wheels look better on there because that's what I had to start with. But full running driving, FF01 been fully restored. It's awesome. Love it. Next up, another FF01. This is Tamiya. This one has an excellent FRP chassis, aftermarket, or the high-end Tamiya aftermarket shocks. We just did a video on this one, so I'm not going to go into too much detail, but it's the Idemitsu Mugen Civic. And yeah, I bought it as a parts car because it looked terrible in the pictures. The mirrors were white and they were all faded and yellowed, and had the wrong color wheels. You see some stickers that peeled back up on the side, but that's it. That's the damage. So I cleaned it, detailed it, trimmed some of the peeling stickers off, awesome addition to the collection, and it's an awesome chassis. I mean, FRP on a FF01 with the Tamiya shocks, that's a nice combo. I would love to drive that actually because it's probably handles amazing. Do have a couple little things to fix on that. There was some the rear blocks are put on backwards. Somebody put it back together wrong when they restored it, I guess. Last on this shelf is the Calsonic Nissan Skyline. This is on a TA02, if I remember right. Yes, it is a TA02. It's supposed to be a TA01 for that body. Not 100% accurate, but it's a beautiful body. Never been driven, never been nothing. The chassis is spotless, has the correct interior. And I've commented that on some of these other videos with these cars that you can't buy this interior. And they're like, everybody shares the link to the Rally one. The Rally one has a co-driver. Touring cars had single driver setup, and you cannot get that right now from Tamiya. So yeah, very hard to find. But this one is beautifully done. Interior is way better than I could have ever painted one. I love it. Just another late night eBay score, and that one was actually locally, kind of locally. It was local to where I used to live. But just another nice collector piece. Next shelf, my FF01 Air Ride Honda Civic. This was the car I had in high school, save for the wheels. I had the stock 13s, but I had Air Ride, and it was this color. So my buddy Dustin at 110 Rod Shop, he color matched this for me off of pictures from my car from high school. This MST body, it's every bit as nice as the Tamiya body is. So if you're wondering, you're looking for one for restoration, you're going to be hard pressed to find a difference. And it comes with light buckets and clear headlight decals, so it's even better. But that car is amazing, awesome. Drives like crap. It's still got the original motor in it, and it's got the wrong size pinion or spur or one, and it doesn't run very well right now. So we do need to get back into that, get it up and running. But it has drift tires, and it's front wheel drive, so it's not going to drive good anyway. But it looks awesome, and it goes up and down. This one nobody's seen yet. It is a vintage HPI F1 car. And vintage, I don't know, circa 2000s, early 2000s. I got it. I've been wanting an F1 car since I was a little kid. I have absolutely nowhere to drive it. This one has been used fairly well. It's got some bumps and bruises on it. Needs a new body. This body is painted horribly. It's cut for racing, so it vents better. It doesn't look the part. The rear wing's on backwards. There's a whole lot of little issues with it, but parts are unobtainable for this. I can find the front splitter, and I've seen the rear wing for sale, the driver helmet, but I can't find an actual body for it. So that's one later project. Next, we've got our custom weird one-off Tamiya TA02 four-wheel drive Mini. It's got some aftermarket kit with aluminum everything, FRP chassis plates. It's got everything. It's just a really rare car. Did a full video on that. Another builder quality, driver quality TA01. You can tell it's a TA01 because it has the honeycombs in it. TA02 I picked up for parts. It's not great. It had lowrider wheels on it, and the rear suspension is non-existent. And the lowrider wheels are, unfortunately, they're all twisted and bent. Then we have a TA03F full. I think this is the racing. I don't remember what they call it. I got out of it about the time the TA03 started happening when I was a kid. But it's the FRP chassis. It's got shocks, springs, it's got uppers, it's got tie rods, it's got sway bars, it's got every option on it just about. It's got a billet belt tensioner. Imagine that's going to be a great car to drive. I bought it real cheap, didn't know nothing about TA03s at all at the time, and then I picked up that one and that one. So now I'm learning a little bit more. So I think I definitely got my money's worth on it. This is a Losi Triple XS. This car is so freaking awesome. It's sad to see that they don't do stuff like that anymore with Losi, because that car is a beast. I've got a Castle something ridiculous old brushless system in it, and that car will absolutely smoke all the tires. I've done nothing with it other than put that ridiculous motor in it, throw a lipo on it, and just roast the tires. I think I had rally tires on it at once, and I just got it filthy. Still haven't really cleaned it that good, but that is an awesome car. Body's beat to snot, but I stuck some stickers on it and did it for Dale. Thought about doing it for Dell. We've got my brand new Kyosho Phaser Mark II, and I took this out there and raced Jeremy. Lost the entire lip. It just rubbed completely off of the car. Um, I don't know why I bought that. It was the late night thing. Those were so cheap, and I wanted to see how bad they were, and they're really not that bad. The body fit and finishes, it's here and there, but the rear is a separate piece of Lexan. But it was like $229 for an RTR, and it was fast. And I smoked the spur gear because it had a plastic spur gear or pinion gear. So I've got some metal gears for that, and that thing will be back up and running and ready to do some more racing. Hopefully not on a 3S because it doesn't like 3S. Next shelf down, we've got CC01 lowrider version Isuzu Mu or Amigo or Frontera, depending on where you're from. I just picked this one up, got it out of Canada super cheap, and I couldn't pass it up. It's got bad paint job, chassis is mint, everything on it is good. This one I bought a few years ago, quite a few years ago. It was on the channel. I bought it completely brand new. It was built. The body was not painted. I used this Tamiya color because I had a bunch of it. Came out okay. We've used the body on a couple other things, but it's back where it belongs now. And yeah, we just talked about that one in a video not that long ago. The ultra rare Honda CRV. This one we just did a video on too. I've been looking for one of these for a while. I want to put this on a TAO2 or TAO1, stance it, and just do ridiculous stuff with it. But the pictures didn't really quite do it justice. It is the stock white plastic. So this side of it is yellowed and sun faded. So I'm currently looking for some aftermarket decals, and we may have to take that thing back down to nothing and repaint it. The trim stuff on it is not great. The edges around the windows and stuff, it's hard to see. They're a little, somebody did it with a pen, which I get, but it needs some love. Next up is my vintage buggy. It's a Tamiya SRB, original Rough Rider. And I bought it as is. I mean, other than the big squid sticker on the front, this is how I got it. I put the helmetless driver in there and put the screens over the windows, added these wheel covers, and I ran it at USTE and Vintage Buggy Racing, and it's an absolute hoot. I love it. It definitely needs to be cleaned up and gone through, and probably needs some wiring and electrical stuff, but awesome vintage car. That's one that'll probably stay with me forever. I tried to sell this one a while back. This is another Tamiya SRB, but this is the Sand Scorcher. It's got an aftermarket chassis. It was the Apocalypse Scorcher for a while, but we stole the engine cover off of that from Night Customs and put it on the Volksrod. But it's got awesome 3D printed everything. 3D printed inner fenders, 3D printed wheels. They're rusted, and they're rusted beautifully. And it's a fun, awesome thing to drive. I drove it in the buggy races last year, but unfortunately at USTE it rolled off of my table year before last, and it cracked the fender and broke some stuff. I lost the mirrors. The roof is cracked. So we've got some damage on it that needs to be fixed. Last shelf over here, another TAO2T. I bought this cheap. It has some purple paint on the wheels, and it's a S10 body, and it's black. It's not as bad a shape as it looks. It could buff out a little bit, but I really wanted to just throw some Dale Earnhardt stickers on it and just make a driver out of it. But the purple is killing me on the wheels, so definitely got to do some correction on that. But it's a good solid chassis. Another TAO2 for the collection. And last over here in the Tamiya side, we've got a Blackfoot, original Blackfoot. It says Ford all over this bad boy. It's got it on the tailgate. It had broken body mounts and it was missing the sunroof. So I've got those parts. You can see I'm sitting there. I've got the sunroof in it. It's an aftermarket unit, but I haven't decided yet if I want to paint the body scale or do I just want to paint it actually black and redo the stickers. All the body mounts on it were broke, and somebody like hot glued them and super glued them to the body. So we've got a little bit of work there, but definitely worth restoring. I got this from my buddy Jeremy at Big Squid. His wife found it at a garage sale. And he just had it sitting on the shelf, and I was like, what do you want to do with that? And I gave him some little, I think it was one of the little WPL trucks, and so he's like, here, just take it. I was like, well, okay, I'll take it. One of those good trade deals with a good friend. So definitely on the list of things to do when we get there with the Tamiya time stuff. Starting on this side, we've got the West-made Peterbilt rat rod, and I'm still stumped with this. I had everything planned out. Um, Wes was making the body for me and everything, and I've been stuck on the proportions. It's 10th scale. It's true to 10th scale, and I can't get the right look. So I don't know about the tire and the wheel. I thought when Sin came out with these Super Duties, we could throw those big giant tires and wheels on there. I definitely not the red color because they look pink against the red. That thing is painted. It's got a full interior. It's got tons of metal flake. It's got Peterbilt grill. I went back and redid all the suspension on it, and it's close to drivable, but it's just, I don't know, something's still not right with it. That one's on the back burner for a while. Rat Rod mud truck, the Rat King Sling, I think I called it. I got this chassis from 110 Rod Shop, and I had this Rat Rod truck and put it all together, but one of the front axle shafts is broken. This is a TFL Racing axle setup that came with my Bronco. See, I've got a vintage Tonka truck bed that I've cut to fit, and I was really happy with the suspension setup on this since I did it, but I just stole the scale V8 and R4 trans and the transfer case, actually, for when I did the conversion. No, I didn't steal the V8. I stole the transfer case out when I did the uh, C2X changes, and then I stole the V8 and stuff when we built the tank track rat rod, I think. So it's one of those things. It's just there. Then we got the HGP whatever number. It's the Bruiser clone truck. This thing is mint. I drove it once. Painted it shiny, and of course it came out with orange peel, and it was kind of funny because it was orange. I picked up that roll bar. That's an old CC hand, solid, beautiful metal roll bar for it. It's not mounted yet, but it's one of those things. But it's a great looking truck, great looking body. It needs some interior scaling out to do. Then we got the Iron Pig, the TF2 long wheelbase. And I didn't realize till the other day I was in here filming, I've lost a mirror. I don't know where it is. It's just kind of frustrating. That was definitely a challenging body to build with the Lexan. I was not prepared to paint Lexan. But I think it came out pretty good. Helped me boost my self-esteem with Lexan a little bit. But I don't know what's in the future for that. I've not driven it much since we did the videos and stuff. It's a full leaf spring truck, and it was super stiff. The springs on that were overarched. I don't know if it was just for that truck or what, but it was definitely a different experience driving. Then we've got the Black Rock that we shall not speak of. I did some stuff on this, and I had a bunch of mods from RC4 Drive. We upgraded some stuff on the chassis, and then they just kind of quit selling it, quit talking about it. So I know there were some issues with Jeep. I know they can't probably use that body again, but this chassis is fantastic, and I'm not getting rid of this truck because I absolutely love the chassis. It is set up like a Jeep. It's got a captive coil. It's an awesome rig. It drove and performed amazing. Needed a little tuning on the suspension, or the steering. I'm sorry, not the suspension. Steering angle was weird, and it needs some upgrades with that. But overall, that is awesome performing chassis, and I've been kind of waiting and sitting on that, looking for the right body to go on it. Then we got an SCX 10.3 Bronco. Then we have the RC four-wheel drive Galan 2 D90, the Heritage Edition, if I remember right. Been wanting to do some more stuff on that. You saw a while back we tried to put a bumper on it, and it was sold as such, but it did not fit as such. But the Galan 2s are just solid trucks. They're awesome. They perform well. I'm just not a big Land Rover fan personally, but these newer bodies, the opening doors and stuff, it's a little bit more detailed, and we could get wild with it if we can just get to it. Then we've got the RC Model X, the Hilux. I got this from my buddy Ray. Everybody remembers Buddy Ray days. These are the full steel chassis. The bumpers, the sliders are all welded to the chassis. This truck is ridiculously heavy, and it's awesome. It's full independent, four-link front and rear, and it has we went through and redid this whole thing. We've got a beautiful RC four-wheel drive scale interior, done in red, rusty, dirty. The original body that Ray painted and did stuff with, we weathered when we got it from him. It's got some junk in the bed, and now it's got a Holmes revolver, a Holmes ESC. It's got Reefs 444. I mean, this thing is duded out. It's got brand new axles. Every piece of this truck has been gone through. just haven't had a chance to go crawl it. We've got a winch, we've got lights, did the full new interior. It is awesome, ready to go. So hopefully we'll get some wheel time with that at USTE. Then we got the TF3. TF3, I bought it at USTE last year. I wanted to do a whole bunch of stuff with it, and I just haven't been able to get to it. We did some mods to the rear suspension, put some tires and wheels on it, and that's about it. I haven't got to drive it much since either. Got some screws and a baggie in the back. That's cool. TF2 full leaf spring 4Runner. I'm trying to find a top for this. I was really upset at Beat the Creek. I fell off the barn and destroyed my hard top, but I really missed the way it looked. I like the look of the top. I don't like the open interior, even though we have some scale goodies in there and we've got stuff going on. We got our winch controller for the new winch controller for our RC 4-wheel drive, the Big Daddy Warn winch. The CC hand bumpers. I mean, this thing is a beast. Weighs a ton. Custom plates. Gorgeous interior. Opening doors. Love that truck. It performs awesome. It's super heavy. Scale wheels. But I missed my white hardtop. So we definitely got to get that fixed up. And I haven't been able to find any. They're back ordered everywhere. So if anybody has a spare 4Runner body hardtop that they would like to let go cheap, let me know. The Amigote. The Amigote is perfect in every way, especially since we added the Twisted Tree RC scale antenna with a tennis ball. This thing, I love this truck. It's an absolute beast. It's a nightmare to change the battery in because the battery is in the console. This was my very first styrene interior build. You can see the paint chipped off there. That is clear Tupperware over there. Made those fender wells out of Tupperware containers. Roll bar is bolted together because I didn't know how to do anything else back then. This thing was way too fast. Leaf spring. Awesome truck. Then Old Red. Old Red's been on the channel quite a lot. Still trucking away just fine. Love it. Love the way it looks. We fixed the front axle situation. We've got the XVD shafts in it now, and she is ready to rip. No problems there. And the newest TF2, the Blazer here. Ever since I got those tires and wheels, those are Element tires and wheels that I got from Jeremy. We did a little wheel and tire trade. I love this thing. It's got another Twisted Tree antenna up there. Gorgeous interior. Shrink RC door panels, which are mismatched on purpose. You put red in your blue interior. I love this truck. Got some dice from Wayne. Scale plates. Weathered, rusty. It's a bad repaint. Got some of the original paint showing through. You can see where it used to be two-tone. You can see where the paint's peeling. It's got a very accurate patina, so that's one of my favorite trucks. It could stand to do a little upgrading on, but we'll do it as it breaks. It's got a front leaf spring reversal kit, and it's got the tiny truck nuts skid plate and transmission flip in it, and that skid plate is awesome. It's a lot of weight down low right where you need it. The Monster, the C2X, we just did something on after I was out here. This is the first truck I brought here to measure the racks and figure out how far they needed to be apart. Scale V8, hood scoop. Narrowed the front. It's got the CC hand flatbed. It's got the awesome blue interior, super scale, dice in the mirror, fifth wheel hitch, black rhino wheels, super swamper thornbirds. I love it. Still the stock axles. Still got my body pins holding the rear drive shaft on. That's about the only place this needs upgraded needs some drive shafts, but that truck is a beast. Love it. Had to back up a little bit for the Winnebago. Thing's so dang big. My Tonka Winnebago conversion. Probably one of the biggest videos on the channel, that series. We got us our drivers, our Canadian guys in here with their beers. Interior's all there. Thing runs and drives. It's got a hitch, pulls the trailer. Lots of videos about it. It is an awesome tow rig. Top opens up. You can get in there and play around. And over here we've got the Sin Racing F450. This is the beast. It's got all of the Chaos billet on the bottom, all of their amazing billet parts. That diff cover is awesome. And we've got a 110 Rod Shop bumper. The rear one I still haven't got the painted pieces for. Got the 110 Rod Shop mirrors, and I've got some more stuff for it, but I just haven't had a chance to get to it yet. I really, really want their machined wheels. Those are the plastic wheels with the chrome spikes. But it's just a cool truck, and it's got a hitch on it, and it's a beast, and it'll pull everything just like it should because it's an F450. Then we have my original Hilux body. This was the baby blue one that was with me when I first started the channel. Still got old what's his name in there holding the microphone for a CB. Got some cool scale stuff in the bed I've never taken. This was the one I tested every product on, every weathering thing. So parts of it look good, parts of it are overdone, but it is what it is. I love that body. Eventually I will find it a chassis to be on my, I don't even remember what brand this was. The FMS, the cheaper brand of the Chevy square body with the RC 4-drive wheels on homemade lift kit. Just, you can't not love a square body. And I got my little Integy trailer. I wanted the RC 4-drive forever, and I could never afford it. And then they quit making it. And then I found an Integy one when I could afford it. And it's got, I think that trailer was like $200. And it probably has $200 worth of scale stuff on it. I mean, there's just stuff on stuff on stuff. Canoe. It's got stuff inside of it. It's decked out. But I think that wraps it up. That's all the builds, or all the rigs, everything I've found so far. Even stuff not built. So, yeah, we'll get back to building rat rods in the next few videos. So, until next time, guys. Oh, wait, there's one more. Actually, two more. GCM C-Max. I still haven't figured out what I want to do with it yet. That is a very expensive, beautiful chassis and drivetrain right there. And another TAO2 with a very rare HPI from the late 90s chassis. But that wraps it up for the rig walk around. So we'll get back to regularly scheduled builds before you know it. Until next time, guys, get out there and do something with the hobby and keep a scale. See you in the next one.